Hello and welcome to the Channel M Football Debate Show. Joining me and Ian this week, Steve Bates from The People and Paul Hetherington from the Daily Star Sunday. We also want you to get involved as well, of course. Drop us a line to the usual address today at channelm.co.uk. Chaps, you're very welcome to esteemed members of the Fourth Estate. Not sure who's in the first three, but... Steve, I know you saw City at weekend.
I did, yeah.
Started off quite bright. What happened after that, mate?
Don't know, it just fizzled out, really, didn't it? Much to the dismay of a lot of the City fans who were certainly sat round me. You know, you would have expected them... they started quite brightly, to be fair, but they didn't really kick on. They got the penalty and then didn't really kick on after that.
Paul, do you see the game or highlights of it?
I saw the highlights. For my sins, I was at Chelsea-Cardiff on Saturday, but I've seen the highlights, if that's the right term.
Now... Ian, you're a bit younger than us three.
OK.
So you're more used to watching football in the current idiom. But when we were talking outside, we're not used to seeing a back four with three holding midfielders in front of it.
No. Are many people? I don't know. I'm a youngster, but I'm not really used to seeing that either, really. It's quite common to have two holding midfielders, but not three, surely.
No, certainly not at home anyway, but I'm afraid that seems to be symptomatic of Mancini. I've noticed he's very, very kind of... he doesn't go in for risk or gambles, and he plays everything very safety first, very cautious. Typical Italian, you'd probably say, wouldn't you, Paul?
Absolutely right. It's the Italian way, and I think Mancini's not going to change these methods which are very successful for him with Inter Milan in Italy. And I think as well, when he arrived at City, probably one of the first things he identified was he needed to address the defensive situation, the amount of goals City were conceding. And he'll stick to his plan.
No, I accept the Italian thing, Steve, but three, isn't that uber Italian?
Yeah, it's a bit too cautious, that really, isn't it?
At home especially.
Yeah, I saw them against Bolton a few days earlier, last week as well, and he did a similar thing there with, you know, De Jong, Barry, Vieira, all really doing pretty much a defensive-style job, you know. I would have thought at home, certainly against opposition like Bolton and Stoke, you've got to be more adventurous, and certainly against Bolton he had Petrov on the bench. He should have played Petrov and Johnson wide for me, and Stephen Ireland. You know, these kind of attacking players don't really seem to be what he's looking for in midfield.
He's even using Vieira as an impact sub at the moment, it seems, as well, to try and change the game. I mean, he came on at the weekend when obviously they were looking for a goal. I don't really understand that as such, I don't think.
So what did you make, Paul, of the story last week that he might be considering letting Stephen Ireland go? Because at the moment, he looks the one player at the club who does bring a little bit of forward impetus, a little bit of midfield guile to the mix.
Yeah. I found it astonishing, to be honest. You know, as you've just sort of explained very, very clearly, the emphasis has been on defence in midfield, holding players, but you also need a bit of creativity in there. You need someone who can carry the ball, someone who can pass the ball, someone who can go forward from midfield and score a goal. And that's what Stephen Ireland's been all about the last two seasons. City's best player last season, Jimmy, you probably agree with that?
I'd have thought so, yeah.
So I find that a very strange move.
Maybe he went too cautious because they didn't have Bellamy nor Tevez on Saturday against Stoke. And maybe he didn't want to leave himself too open, but really against the standard of opposition like that you're facing at home in a cup game that... I mean, he's now got an extra game, a replay, that he didn't really need. And for me, I think that could have been avoided with being a bit more adventurous.
It's a tricky game as well, and it's Stoke away.
Stoke away,
it's always difficult. So.
Not an easy game at all. Let's talk about a couple of individuals. Obviously, Wayne Bridge has got this fantastic opportunity. Mr Capello was there, and he's deep in conversation with Gary Cook, I noticed. But did Wayne Bridge advance his cause in your eyes?
I think very solid display. Again, I saw Franco Baldini, Capello's number 2. He was at the game against Bolton in midweek, so... They've had two pairs of eyes looking at him basically in the England camp in the space of 4 days. Baldini first, then Capello. For me, on Saturday, he did a very solid job, Wayne. Nothing sensational. Mancini said after the game that he needs more games, really, to get that kind of fine-tune his match fitness.
Now, Paul, one thing we did see at weekend, we hadn't seen for a while, was the centre-back pairing of Toure in tandem with Jolie and Lescott. It was not unfair to say they didn't exactly rip up trees, did they?
Well, no, and if you look at the nature of Stoke's equaliser, a long throw into the box, you're looking for one of your centre-halves to come and attack that ball, win it in the air. And Ricardo Fuller had, a free header, basically. So it was a bad goal to concede defensively, and certainly, you know, that tactic Stoke used, the long throw by Delap, is nothing new. In fact, Mancini's first press conference at City, before his opening match against Stoke, he actually alluded to that. He actually talked about the lapsed long throw. He knew exactly what it was all about. He'd done his homework. So it shouldn't have been a shock what was going to happen, and City didn't defend it very well.
Well, I have to say, Nigel Glegon, who I worked with on Saturday, used the term City centre-half and duck in the same sentence. That makes me a little bit wary about that throwing coming in. He thought Toure ducked under it.
Yeah, like you say, it's nothing new. It's been, Stoke came up last year and it was a massive impact at the start of the season, but you sort of expect teams to have more than learnt a lesson by now. And, it was a goal that Stoke scored against Arsenal, also in the FA Cup where it came back. But you'd imagine, like you say, Mancini knows all about it, and surely the defence and Given should be prepared for that sort of onslaught.
I mean, I would have thought Lescott and Toure, particularly with their experience, should have dealt a bit better with it. Fuller actually had a free header. He was free in the box.
He's not like he's rising above the defence.
Given never even moved
and there's a lot more of that to come as well. They're going to be sick of the sight of each other over the next week or so.
I would have thought so.
And I've got a feeling City are going to be more sick of the sight of Stoke than the other way around.
Let me ask you this, though, Ian, because to get past Stoke and Chelsea looks like a tall order now.
Yeah.
So that's put now more pressure on Mancini to get this fourth slot boxed off.
Yeah, it has, and it's something he talked about. He actually thinks that third place is on as well. Take a look at this.
I think that Tottenham, Liverpool, West Ham, Tottenham, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Manchester City, and Arsenal, five teams for 2 places, and we can have a good chance for me. We must remember that we have 2 games in the end. It's important. If we win these 2 games, we go for position, 2 points, 1 point, 2 points back before the Arsenal. And we have good chances if we win this game.
So, Roberto Mancini sounding remarkably upbeat. Paul, we may have 2 games in the hand, but are they going to win those 2 games? Because the way the results panned out last week, if they do win them, they would be in a very good position.
Absolutely. Well, we don't have to wait long to find out, Jim, do we? One of those games in hand tomorrow night at Stoke, and we know how difficult that's going to be. But, yeah, absolutely. If they do win them, then they're right in the frame for 4th place. I can't see City finishing 3rd, by the way. I think the top 3 are boxed off. But 4th is up for grabs.
I mean, if they win the 2 games in hand, they're 7 points behind Manchester United on level games. That's not a bad situation to be in, really, given the fact that City have drawn quite a few games and lost a couple that maybe they shouldn't have done. So, I mean, they've still got, for me, I think 4th place is there for the taking for them.
Would you like to see City maybe show a little bit more adventure, though, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you like your sides to be playing good football and winning games as well, don't you? I'm not saying that City aren't playing good football, but an approach of playing 3 defensive midfielders at home to sides like Bolton and Stoke, I mean, I think any City fan would say that they would prefer probably to see Stephen Ireland in there and 2, out-and-out wingers, if not, maybe even going 4-4-2. But if this is the way that Mancini thinks is going to be successful, he's the manager, that's what he's employed for.
Not overly sure he knows what his best side is yet, either. He's chopped and changed a bit. Nothing seems to be cast in stone there yet. Obviously, I think Tevez and Bellamy are key to...
Yeah, well, I accept what Steve's saying, Paul, but one of the things that I always think about in Manchester City now is this timescale of expectation. Mancini's been there the blink of an eye. As Steve quite rightly says, he probably isn't totally sure of his best starting 11 yet. But because of the money, because of the level of expectation, he's not going to be given an infinite amount of time to pick and choose, is he?
No, he's got to deliver this season. I mean, Mark Hughes was sacked because, the board weren't convinced he was delivering well enough this season. Mancini's succeeded him, he's come in, and he's got to do the job. And we all know what the job is. City either need to win something or finish in the top 4. Otherwise, this season will be looked upon as one of disappointment.
Yeah, you've got to seize the moment in football because you don't know what's going to happen next season. Other teams could be stronger. Are Liverpool going to have a poor season next time round that they've had this time, I'm not sure. But
with that time scale of expectation, if he doesn't finish in the top 4, he's got a very good chance to finish in the top 4. The Cup looks a longer shot than it did before the 6th round draw. If he didn't do it, would you expect a change of manager?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I think they'd be crazy. I know City have got a long history of making daft managerial decisions, but I certainly think that if they got rid of Mancini at this point, then that really would rank as the ultimate bad decision, because I think long-term Mancini will get it right, and when you speak to other managers in the game at the top level, they've got a great deal of respect for Mancini, and you can't ignore 3 Serie A titles with Inter Milan.
Well, I accept everything Steve just said, but then again, the Mark Hughes sacking came as quite a shock to a fair few people, Paul, didn't it?
It did. I wouldn't say it came as a total shock to me,
not
to be
at all,
honest,
no.
you know, because it was... What you've got to remember is Mark Hughes was not the appointment of the current regime. Mancini is an appointment of the current regime, and, you know, my information is, and I know Steve's heard something similar, is that the chairman, Khaldoon, is very impressed with Mancini. I think they've got faith in him. You might not like the way they play at times, but I think City fans are going to have to get used to that. But the key will be where they play now, if that delivers results. If that gets them a trophy, and it'll have to be the FA Cup this season, or it gets them into the Champions League, everyone will be happy.
He's only been there a couple of months, Jim.
Of course, yeah.
You know, I think you have to give the guy a decent amount of time. But I certainly think that fourth place is within their grasp, and I think City will get that fourth spot.
What seems to be a little bit worrying is that the fans don't seem to be, you know, massively behind Mancini. I think probably the majority of fans, you say, are, but already, I mean, like you say, he's only been in the job, you know, a couple of months, but already fans are not really quite that happy with him, are they? I mean,
no,
did you see much unrest at the weekend?
I think that's general. Yeah, there was certainly unrest around about me where we were sat in the press box, because I think, quite rightly, the City fans expected more. You know, they expected a better performance from the team, and you know, they didn't really expect Stoke to earn a replay.
Well, I think you get out a jail card, Paul, is results. If you don't deliver a performance, the result is what people remember.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we all know football's a results-driven industry, and that's how managers are measured. And in an ideal world, you get results playing beautiful, flowing, attacking, entertaining football, scoring loads of goals. Doesn't always work like that. I mean, nobody plays better football in this country than Arsenal. Yet there's a lot of criticism of Arsene Wenger from Arsenal fans at the moment, because they haven't won anything for years.
So, time for a quick break. Remember, we do want to hear from you, so if you want to have your voice in the mix, you can drop us a line today at channelm.co.uk.